seems like Rockstar Games denies the allegations. So not only have they pushed GTA 6, but people are not happy about what Rockstar has got on the go. Apparently somebody came out and said some stuff on Reddit or something. Let's see.
Auto 6 launches, and at the scale of developer more than 30 people were just fired from Rockstar, and that's only 6 months before Grand Theft Auto 6 launches. And at the scale of developer
Too low? One sec. You
like this, while 30 may
Should be
not
better.
seem like it's a humongous number of people,
Okay.
it is still a lot of people to lose this late,
Yeah.
because this late into the day is when development tends to be an absolute all-hands-on-deck scramble. Now, it all begs the question,
Okay.
Rockstar are about to release the biggest game in the world.
History.
So how can they afford to lose that experience? Well, according to Rockstar, this was essential, because every staff member fired committed,
Good.
quote, gross misconduct. And that does mean that today's video is going to be a rather spicy one.
Okay.
Rockstar alleges that those staff leaked confidential information, which is
Yeah.
a humongous claim.
Yeah, so apparently they dropped, how do I do this again? I forget, like that, right? Apparently they dropped like 40 people, between 30 and 40 people on their heads. Just people just lost their jobs across offices in UK and Canada for what was said to be gross misconduct because they leaked information or something. Now, 30 to 40 at the same time, maybe there was an internal investigation and it was ongoing and they found the people at once and just got rid of them all. I don't know. This, I don't know.
Humongous claim. But it's one that the union working with those staff calls, quote, the most blatant act of union busting in the history of the games industry. So yeah, this is very much a story of one massive claim versus another massive claim. And that means today, we got to get to the bottom of it as best as we can. This
Okay.
started with the Independent Workers of Great Britain Union making some serious allegations against Rockstar. They called it a calculated attack on workers, and it's one that hit more than 30 people who were fired in the UK alone. Now,
Okay.
included in this bunch are staff whose visas depended on this job, whose medical treatment depends on this job.
Yeah.
Now, the IWGB says
Wait,
that
what? The staff who were, oh, wait.
everyone was fired, quote, due to
Okay. Let me read that. The staff who were all part of a private trade union Discord channel and members of the IWGB were dismissed in what the union argues constitute unlawful and retaliatory dismissals. Organizers at the IWGB have reported that amongst the staff dismissed were those with visas sponsored by Rockstar and those whose medical conditions who will lose access to essential workplace healthcare schemes. I don't know where that plays anything. Like, I mean, to be fair, if it's that malicious where they don't want to pay for their healthcare and their visas, like that's insane. But like their healthcare, like I'm sure Rockstar didn't fire them for their healthcare, but let's see what Billy Wheeler has to
job.
say, I guess. But,
Now, the IWGB says that everyone was fired, quote, due to trade union activity.
Okay.
Now, here is the key detail. They say every fired individual was part of a private trade union Discord channel.
Okay.
And according to the register's sources, this channel was used by the staff to, quote, discuss how they could improve their workplace. Now, they also note that, quote, there might have been just enough union members for recognition. And they framed the timing, of course, as being suspicious, where these layoffs happened after management became aware of the channel. But to get more on this, we can go to Bloomberg, because Bloomberg reports that staff were also fired in Canada. So that's what started off today's video. But after the initial reports, well, they got a new statement from Rockstar, and that statement says that the staff were fired for leaking confidential information.
okay, so I don't know how to go about that, because if you're not unionized and you're forming an unlawful union against a company, I don't know if that's fireable, but that is like, I think that's bad, right? That's not a good thing. But like all everybody wants is better work environments and better games. That's it. Employees want better work environments and to feel like there's growth and that they have an opportunity for growth or can put their best foot forward every single day to make a great product. And the end consumers just want better games. That's just it. If this is truly like union activity, maybe it broke down to like within that Discord, there were people that weren't actually in the company that were getting fed information that they shouldn't have seen. And that could have been something crazy too. bro, this stuff just drives me mad. Like the video game industry, bro, we'll just see what happened. Square Enix just fired a bunch of people, let a bunch of people go in the layoffs. How are all these layoffs happening? How are these companies so mismanaged that they have to do massive layoffs? It's because of the COVID spike in 2019, 2020, 2021. The spike in business, or I guess not 2019, but like 2020, the spike in business and gaming and the media and tech industry, it was such a spike because there's so many more eyes, and everybody just built so quickly to a point to where I feel like it wasn't even sustainable, and they knew that. But they were just taking advantage of the situation, and then eventually would come down off that high and lay everybody off. I just don't think growing up wanting to be in the gaming industry, you would know that it's going to be this volatile. It's sad, man. People are losing everything over these mismanaged companies.
Could go against some of what was being suggested by the union. So basically, the allegations here are clear. Rockstar say they were protecting their company's secrets. The IWGB say that Rockstar was retaliating against employees for trying to unionize. But here's the thing. The IWGB are not backing down. They say they'll be, quote, mounting a full and robust defense of its members. This includes doing fundraising for legal coverage and a protest outside of Take-Two's London office.
Nice, good.
And that's because they believe their members were targeted unfairly for exercising their legal rights. It's a quote from them, and yeah, union organization is a protected activity. So, in this story we see that the union is clearly feeling quite bullish. Rockstar...
So, wait. Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto series most profitable video game franchise in the world. Grand Theft Auto 6 releasing in early 2026 is expected. Well, we know that's not right. It's expected to break all records, earn $10 million. I think it's going to be way more than that. I think it'll be 2025. The IWGB, which sees this as a brazen act of illegal union busting, says it would be mounted on a full and robust defense of its members who would believe it has been targeted unfairly exercising their legal rights. Now, is it because there is union in like, have all these people been paying their union dues? You know what I mean? Like, is there a union within this company? Are they unionized? If they're unionized, absolutely there's a legal right. But at the same time, are they crossing lines with doing organized conversations in a Discord channel? I'm not going to follow this closely, but I'm sure we're going to get some outrageous stuff online about this stuff.
Rights. It's a quote from them.
I'll be seeing.
Yeah, union clearly feeling quite bullish. Rockstar are saying things back, but before we get to that, there's a reason why the union is bullish. Because this is not their only active campaign. This isn't the first story out of that union. They're basically making waves in the UK industry, where of course Rockstar is clearly one of their ongoing ventures.
Yeah.
Now, recently, they helped staff at Disco Elysium developer Zaum unionize to protect themselves from management and layoffs. And then, I suppose bringing in another Rockstar connection, after the Mind's Eye developer Builder Rocket Boy laid people off, the union gave the impacted staff a platform. And essentially, they're alleging that people were laid off in a fairly improper way, and that's why they're now also helping those people with legal action under the grounds of unfair dismissal.
Okay.
But there is a major distinction for today's story, and it's this. Rockstar denies everything, pretty much. They say that there are no union-related reasons for these dismissals. Take-Two representative told Bloomberg that it was down to gross misconduct, and for no other reason.
But it's so easy for Rockstar to say that, dude. They just need one single reason for all 30 to 40 of these people to be laid off. One, like simply, it could have been one extra person in that Discord channel that is not a Rockstar employee, and there was one line of text saying something that is going to be within GTA 6 that they're complaining about or something, and that makes for a case of all those people spreading misinformation outside of the company, outside of their legal like requirements or whatever. Something as small as that, so they don't have to say it's about the unions, even though it truly is. Probably, I'm assuming, allegedly, it would be about the unionization of these people.
Adding that they, quote, fully support Rockstar's ambitions and approach. Now, here's the thing, right? Gross misconduct is a fairly huge thing to say. I don't know about other jurisdictions, but it's huge to say in the United Kingdom because it is a legally clear term. It's a legally clear claim for them to make. So because of that, we need to investigate why Rockstar would say this, because if they were just lying, it would look pretty bad in court.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try to take Rockstar at their word for this section. That basically 30 plus staff all behaved in a way that reflects gross misconduct. You might be wondering, okay, it's a serious word, but what does it actually mean? Well, in the
Yes.
UK, it's a legal term. It's the kind that lets you fire staff without pay and
Okay.
without notice, though they are meant to get a chance to first respond to the allegations.
See, that's the thing. Okay, serious insubordination. I'm not 100% sure what that is, but gross negligence, physical violence, theft, those things are we call termination, or able to legally fire someone or let someone go immediately with no pay if there's something around. That's what Canada has. I'm pretty sure. I'm not in law, but I've worked in retail and I've seen somebody get walked out, and I know for a fact they did not get paid because they were returning routers on their own credit card. They were returning stuff to their own cards, right? Instead of like they'd take it back and then they'd return an extra one on their debit card or whatever. Theft like that, you can just fire someone and get rid of them. That makes sense. And it's the same thing in Canada. At least I think so. From a simple level, it seems like it should be, at least.
Now, the government's own guidance lists what qualifies for this, and it's things like theft, gross negligence, physical violence, or serious insubordination. Now, 30 staff engaging in theft, negligence, or violence is probably a stretch, but serious insubordination? Well, that actually could fit. And the reason why is because it extends to breaking company policies. So maybe that's what Rockstar are arguing here, that maintaining corporate confidentiality almost certainly comes under their policies.
Yeah.
Perhaps discussing your workplace or the production of the game you're working on an external public platform could be argued to fall into that category.
Yeah.
But there is a...
See, that's exactly what I said. If you're talking about these things on Discord, bro, like... my Discord has gotten hacked. Anybody's Discord can get hacked. It is not a safe place. And if these companies have fail safes in their terms of service, of their terms of agreement with employment, with not or having complete and confidential conversations on their own certain platforms to be able to be regulated about these things. I mean, I work, like, my jobs I've had haven't been to the level of confidentiality being necessary besides personal information. That's it. But when you're developing a product that is very competitive in the most competitive, in one of the most competitive industries in the world, gaming and media and entertainment, you don't want that to leak. So, you know, obviously this is obviously off the back of they are probably unionizing and they don't want them to. But also, they needed a good reason to fire them that would look less bad on them. That's what I'm getting out of this.
Rockstar. The IWGB were quite explicit to Bloomberg. They said, quote, "The only organizers in the chat were labor organizers." And that would make things tricky for Rockstar.
Okay.
Because there's a clear reason they're saying this has nothing to do with the union. If they did, it would go very, very badly for them. And here's the reason why. Firing someone for union activity is simply not allowed unless they are taking part in an illegal industrial action. Okay. So, if staff in the Discord were acting as employee representatives, that would be a protected activity. Acting as union representatives would be protected. Lobbying to start or to join a union, that's also protected. Under UK employment law, those dismissals would automatically qualify as being unfair. So obviously Rockstar are denying it has anything to do with the union.
Exactly.
And that would mean that if staff were to bring it to what's called an employment tribunal, and Rockstar then didn't have a valid gross misconduct claim, well then Rockstar would be liable. And that is why the IWGB do intend to bring legal action here. Because basically, if Rockstar fired over 30 people without valid cause, or are just overreaching on the idea of what actually counts as confidential information, then they could lose the case, and those staff may get their jobs back, which would certainly make for an awkward day in the office, but it could also mean compensation for lost wages and damages, and who knows if it was...
That's kind of where I'm thinking. Is like, they're not going to go back to their job. Obviously, they got fired. There's no way they go back, because then they're going to be on eggshells making no mistakes. But there's a world they get compensation. And now, is this IWGB or whatever it is, it's like, oh my God, I'm blanking. Oh my God, a brain fart. This union, organized union, whatever it's called, IWGB, whatever it is. If they can fight Rockstar, that's good. But if they're not big enough to fight Rockstar, are they going to just lose, or are they going to expend too much resources to not be able to help other people? Or are they going to be able to just kind of settle in court with Rockstar, and these people are going to get minor compensations opposed to what they deserve if they're wrongfully fired or terminated or whatever? I guess same thing. They deserve good compensation.
Particularly egregious, maybe things could get a bit punitive. Now, for the IWGB, it would also be a very, very clear victory. It would further their movement within the country, which obviously would, if their allegations are true, be quite counter to what Rockstar would have wanted. Again, if you were to take their allegations as being true. Though there's one thing, a question that we've not gotten to yet, and it's a very simple one. Why now? Why would Rockstar staff push for union protection at this precise moment? To tell you why, I've got to go back to 2022. Then, Bloomberg reported on changes to the culture at Rockstar, where essentially Rockstar was becoming a place where staff didn't necessarily feel they would need a union to protect themselves. Rockstar got in quite a lot of bad PR over the years, and Bloomberg sources talked about pledges to, quote, keep overtime under control. So very much a far cry from the, quote, 100-hour weeks and the death marches of 14-hour days that had previously been involved in delivering their games. As an example, back in 2018, after the crunch in Red Dead Redemption 2, before it was released, Rockstar even went so far as to authorize staff to speak out about their experiences to try and change the narrative. And since then, even managers who were framed as bullying or being abusive have been removed from power. Basically, they tried to change a lot in the company. And sources flagged up that the company had also closed their gender pay gap by over half the 2018 figure, down to 13.8%, and that even with all that change, in terms of the actual output, they framed the writing on the new Grand Theft Auto game as being thoughtfully satirical, punching up at people with power instead of down. Of course, Grand Theft Auto has always been a satire of American culture made by Scottish people. I mean, obviously it's a lot bigger than that now, but that's basically how the whole thing started off.
Wow. Okay, so that's a lot to unpack, but number one, good on Rockstar for trying to improve. If these people are lobbying for a union, I feel like maybe the conditions are not great. Like, maybe they are being pushed thin, because there is a lot on the line with GTA 6. This thing needs to be perfect. So maybe they're being spread thin.
Anyway, in short, it actually seemed like one of the biggest companies in gaming was also trying to reform itself into being a model for healthy development. Now, that stuff came from 2022. Obviously, it's ringing a bit different now, given that we're talking about this story.
Yeah, exactly.
And one thing that could have changed things was the devastating security breach. When that happened, Rockstar leadership began to tighten their grip. And I would say, understandably so. A major security breach like that is seriously awful.
So, for example, a company I worked for, we had a security breach. Our entire systems were hacked by some third-party hacker that got a hold of multiple systems. So, for example, our network or our VPNs and how our stuff worked before essentially got attacked by these hackers. But we weren't the only ones with this. There was 10 other companies that had this, and all of our stuff got hacked. All of our stuff. Now, we didn't get affected, luckily, and our company did not get affected, which is great. But we had to like harp in. So then we start to only be able to use the remote desktop app and only be able to use this or that and not be able to do this and this thing. And it got super, like, things like Facebook ended up getting deactivated, or not deactivated, but like blocked and protected and privacy reasons, whatever. They tighten the grip, right? And it's for the safety of clients and obviously their employees and their company. Obviously, number one, the company. So it makes sense that Rockstar did that.
For the development of a game. Now, Bloomberg reported that staff were told to return to the office 5 days a week as of February 24, and in their framing, this was for security and productivity reasons. But of course, typically, return to office mandates also can function as soft layoff tools, which basically just helps to get rid of staff, and often, in the opinion of companies, get rid of staff who are, let's just say, the least invested in the company's success.
Yeah.
Now, the delays to Grand Theft Auto's release have likely not helped matters here, because staff will be under constant levels of pressure to get the game ready by the new release date, and obviously to not have to do another delay. So, in light of all this, it does make sense that the staff would have wanted some union protection. Perhaps they'd seen progress during GTA development, maybe they want to lock it in, maybe they saw signs of backsliding and want to prevent it. Of course, for the visa holders, the people with, say, dependent medical coverage, well, they would quite need some things to be locked in, and if they were unionizing, then the pressure of an upcoming launch would give them maximum leverage. By now, you basically understand both sides of this story. As for GTA, well, an employment tribunal in the UK is not going to kill Grand Theft Auto 6 sales. All the bad press about working conditions will not matter when pre-orders open. But that tribunal's impact could go far beyond the sales of one game. Because if these allegations are true, and remember, they are allegations, then holding Rockstar accountable would actually send a message. You know, one to the biggest companies in the world making the biggest games in the world, that they can't treat their employees like this. They can't fire people who depend on that job for, say, their right to remain in the country, for their medical care, unless they have real proper reason. And that would mean that if Rockstar's accusation of gross misconduct would hold, well, then they would be proven right, and those staff would have, by, I suppose, the letter of the law, been proven wrong. But more than that, it would require staff seeking to unionize to be a lot more careful about when and where they take action. As an example, in that Discord server, we don't know what was talked about, and I don't really want to speculate in that, but it's the sort of thing that staff would probably need to be more careful about. Obviously, the IWGB losing on those grounds would even discredit their movement. If they aren't, and things are as the IWGB alleges, then Rockstar would have shattered lives over a Discord channel that staff used to discuss how they could improve their workplace. And you would certainly hope that an improved workplace would in the long term be in everyone's best interests. As for this one, we need to wait and see. And ultimately what will decide things.
WWR, no, that's very true. I think people lobbying is never a bad thing, because if okay, so if you're an employee complaining, that is much different than multiple people lobbying for the same issue. Let me give you an example. If you're like, man, I hate working at office. I want to work from home 2 days a week. We got to work in the office 5 days a week. We don't have a choice. I want to work from home. That is just find another job or suck it up. You don't have a choice. Whatever the regulation is for the company, you have to do. When you're saying, man, another 13-hour day, like, I'm exhausted. Like, is this normal? Like, this normal in the gaming industry? I don't know. And then the person in the cubicle next to you is like, not really, but I'm exhausted. I don't know. I'm tired. And then the person behind you is like, you know what? You're right. My guy, my supervisor, maybe put this much work into this. Oh, well, our supervisor has us on that too, but we're doing the other section. And then you have 10 people talking about it. And then you have 20 people talking about it. And all these people are lobbying together, being like, we're not happy, we're unhappy, we're exhausted, this is not working for us, we're being overworked, and we're telling people, but it doesn't matter. Let's lobby together and make a statement. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because it's, I would say 99% of the time when people lobby together and try to make change, it generally is good for a good thing. The issue is that the other 1% of the time or 5% of the time, there are people lobbying that are try to get that, you give them an inch to take a mile. You know what I mean? They might try to go a little bit further and get a little bit more out of it, or be violent or destructive and protest in destructive ways. But this seems like it was just a Discord channel from, we can't speculate what's been talked about in it, but what has been said is the Discord channel discussing unionizing about the work that they're doing or the conditions or whatever. I don't know. That seems like probably a good thing. But at the same time, if I owned a company and I had 40 of my employees in another Discord that I don't have access to and no regulation for, and they're discussing things about the company or about the game and about the product, I wouldn't like that. And then on top of that, if you're already like clamping down on the privacy thing, that's a breach on Rockstar's TOS. And also, if the employees, and this is to go to another point, if the employees feel the need of making a Discord server unregulated to voice their opinions to make the workplace better, there's something lost along the line of management, because this shouldn't exist. It should be able to be talked about in the workplace with management, supervisors, board members. to make sure that these people are comfortable and this game can come out on time and in a quality product or as a quality product. And that's not going to happen if you have 40 of your employees in a Discord trying to figure out how to make the environment better. I don't know. Let me know what you think. As always, let me know what you think down below, obviously. I don't know. That's what I think. I think it's, I don't know if they were just talking about making things better or Rockstar actually fired from that or fired them for whatever. It just sucks. People losing their jobs is ridiculous, especially if they're unionizing for something to make the workplace better. Yeah, again, let me know what you think. And yeah, we'll see you in a couple, or see you next time, boys. Yeah, we'll see you next time. Yeah.